Hi, I'm Connie Sokol, a national speaker, best-selling author, program founder, and mother of 7, and loving it. I'm reaching and teaching 1 million listeners to live a purposeful, organized, and joyful life. You can too, so let's go. All right. Welcome to our Money Mindset podcast. We are the Money Mindset Mentors, and we talk to you about all things money, especially as a woman or mom. And that means we got a lot going on. And so we don't have days and days to try to figure this out. So we're going to help you cut to the chase, get your questions answered, and get you creating a financial freedom and investment ideas and projects that you feel like, hey, this is going to help us have a better quality of life. So jumping right out of the gate, I have, as always, Amanda, Rachel, and Amy, and I am Connie, and we are here today. We once a month have our sort of potpourri where we all gather together and we pull questions out that you have asked or that you want answers to, and that we are going to address in just a few minutes today. So jumping right out of the gate, we're going to start with what seems to be one of the biggest threads continually, and that is scarcity mentality. It's this money mindset, because we know it all starts with mindset. It really does. So Amanda, this was your main question today. What was the feel and what were some of the specifics around that?
Yeah, so I just threw it out there and I said, ladies, what are you guys wondering? What can we help you with? And the question that I got back, the biggest one, was the scarcity mindset. It was, how do you stay out of scarcity mindset? And so I really started thinking about that. And I thought, I was there not too long ago. I was in this scarcity mindset and in this, I like to call it the land of not enough or barely enough, right? Here I am in this land where I'm like, oh my gosh, there's not enough. So I have to save everything that I have, or this land of barely enough. So what I do have, I have to ration out and make it last, right? Yeah. Right. So, but what I really wanted to do is I wanted to move to this land of more than enough, this land flowing with milk and honey, right? This beautiful land. And so I have 3 tips that I want to just give to help you with when you're in the scarcity mindset. Number 1, name it. That is so important to say, okay, wait, what am I feeling? Ooh, I'm feeling like I'm stuck in the land of not enough. And that is scarcity. And I talked a while ago about an antonym for scarcity, right? And that is abundance. So as long as you're staying in scarcity, you cannot open to abundance. You just can't. So if you're in scarcity, the first thing is recognize it and name where you are. Number 2, flip the script going in your head and decide where is it that you want to be, right? I want to be in the land of more than enough. Well, what does that look like? And start visualizing that out in your mind. And number 3, figure out what it is that you need to do to close the gap. Remember, everything in this life is a process. It is a process. So name it. Where do you want to be? And how do you get out? What is the step that you need to take to get to the land of more than enough?
Love that. Amy and Rachel, do you have any thoughts or experiences to kind of weigh in on that or add to that?
I would just also add that you need to take some action. So if you're feeling like you're in a scarcity mode or mindset, the biggest thing that I found is to act on it. So not just kind of dwell in self-pity, but like recognize it, like Amanda's talking about, and then take a little baby step forward, whatever that looks like to you. Sometimes for me, it's just actually removing myself from a situation and coming back to it. And I think that really helps clear your mind and get over that hump. And then you're able to think, okay, what can I do to put my mind in a better spot?
I love that. And I think, again, we talk about doing this for him. When you can think about abundance and working with and partnering with Heavenly Father, partnering with the divine, of saying, okay, if I had this abundance, what good could I do with it? Good for my family, good for my neighborhood, good for my community, good for whatever. I think that can take us out of this scarcity of this is all about paycheck to paycheck and me and my mortgage and all of that. And it opens up that vision of, He is a God of abundance. You can't count all the leaves. You can't count I'm looking at the snow outside. You can't count all the snowflakes, right? everything, air molecules, it's all abundant. So why would that change if he is working with me, as a child of God? Why would that change? Why would he not want me to have abundance? Of course he wants me to have abundance. That must mean that the gap has something to do with me. Maybe a skill I need to learn, maybe a perspective I need to open up to, maybe an action I need to take that's uncomfortable, but I need to do it in order to open up that vista of what could be. So I really appreciate that. Amy, any thoughts on that?
My thoughts would just be like going back probably to just a very basic principle of just being grateful for what we have too. I think flipping the script in your mind has a lot to do with thinking about what you have. I think what Amanda said is awesome too, like, and you filling the gap. I think that gap is oftentimes the script that's in our head. And so I think having really a lot of clarity on what you have and what you need. And then once those basic needs are fulfilled, like you have that, you have everything that you need. And you know that because you have gotten very clear on what you need and what you want. That's a lot easier place to start from, not a scarcity, because you have those basic needs met, and you can it's easier to take those steps forward by having, being grateful for what you have and like really lining it all out and laying it out that you know what you have, and that all of your needs are met, and that you want to be in a different place. So that's a little bit different way to think about it versus like, oh, I don't have enough. So
Yes.
just getting to the spot where you feel like you do have enough. So
I love that. And maybe a great exercise to do would just be literally right now, taking out a sheet of paper and just saying, what are you grateful for regarding that? We have a beautiful home. We have a working car. I know that if I'm out in the road, it's not going to break down. Or I'm grateful that I have a good job, or my husband has a good job, or my kids have good work right now, or that they are doing good in school, or whatever it might be. All of those things that generate abundance, starting to list those out and really see them for what they are. We live in such abundance. I was driving with my son the other day and we saw all these houses going up, right? And then you saw some of these old time houses and stuff where it used to be, they had like a parking garage, just cover over, right? And that was the garage. And then a full covered garage. And then I remember back in the day having a double garage. Anybody remember that? And that was like a big deal. I'm super old, but that was a big stinking deal. And then when third garages came in, that was like a mansion. That was like, oh my gosh, they are so rich. And now third garage is like, you have to have it. Like, that's a given. You have a third garage. And now people are like, I need a thing for my, my big camper and RV and the recreational vehicles and things like that. So I think as we go back to this gratitude space, I was talking with my son about how grateful we were that so many of the things that so many years ago that, a television and a phone and all of that we take it for granted. That's just assumed. That's our way of life. I think a little gratitude exercise can go a long way to recognizing, wow, what do we really need? And we have our needs actually met. It's a lot of the scarcity is looking around and saying, but we don't have, but we want, but we whatever. So anyway, great idea. I love that, sweetie. Thank you for those 3 tips. Let's go to Rachel now, and let's talk to her about her question that she got and how she's going to answer it.
All right. So this one is also kind of regarding mindset. And this question came about where a couple of my friends started new businesses, and they had these negative people around them that just said, your product isn't what it needs to be. You're not doing well, but on paper, they were doing really well. And so it was very difficult for them to even focus and move forward in their business because they had these negative influences around them. So we talked a lot about that. And I think that's something that a lot of us face in our daily lives, not even if we're trying to invest or start businesses or whatever, just in our daily lives, we struggle with a lot of this negative influence. And so I just wanted to point that out, that these voices will come. People will be negative all the time, for whatever reason. And what I recommended to them was just to acknowledge it and to sit with it and to think about it for a little while and to say, is there any truth in that? And to pull the truth from that, maybe if their product could, benefit from any changes or whatever, make those changes and then move right along. And then also encourage that feedback, because I think that, as long as it's done correctly, having a critique about, the business that you're running or the investments that you're doing, it can be very helpful because it can take you from a place of comfort to a place of uncomfort. And that's when we move and that's when we grow a lot. So just kind of thoughts about that.
I love that. And I don't want to be, exceedingly biblical, but I'm always going to pull it back to this because I think of that talk by D. Todd Christofferson that said, whenever you hear negative feedback, I'm paraphrasing, he says, sift even and then if there's anything that will help you move forward, and then just let go of whatever else is there. And I love this idea of moving from comfortable to discomfort intentionally, right? When we get out of that comfort zone, when we say at night, we're not going to come home and just start binge watching a Netflix. We're going to do something else. We're going to read 15 minutes in a finance book to find out what those terms mean or what that looks like. Or I'm going to look for 15 minutes on a property, or I'm going to go through 15 minutes and look at my budget and just see where we're at. Just taking those little steps to move from that. And even though it's uncomfortable, that it's actually moving us forward. And if you look in scripture, anytime someone's going to up level, what happens? Where does he take them? He takes them to a wilderness. He takes them to an ocean. He takes them to a different place so that they're out of their comfort zone and they have to rely on him. They have to do it differently. And so that's what I would encourage is, as we're looking at these things and we're looking at and listening to these principles and tips, it is probably going to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. It is going to feel a little bit pie in the sky. It is going to feel like, I don't know if I want to look at my finances. Anybody out there that's like that? Like, I don't want to know. Is there money in there? Okay. I don't really want to know what's the whole thing behind it. But if we can embrace it, we can open up to it, then so much is available to us. And so much of it doesn't look as bad as we think that it is. It really is just getting it down on paper and seeing where we want to go and then saying, I'm willing to have a little bit of this discomfort so that I can have a better situation, not just for myself, but for my family and my family down the road. And then for those around me that I could do good with. All right. Fantastic. Rachel, thank you. Anything else that you guys wanted to share on Rachel's?
She did a great job.
All right, Amy, jumping to you.
Do you want to start with what my question, like what questions I get a lot? Okay. So the questions I've been getting a lot more recently, probably because the market's changed quite drastically, has to do with specific types of financing. So I work with a lot of investors. I mostly work with investors, but those investors can range from first-time investors to like very experienced. And I feel like right now, my very experienced investors are just, it's with the interest rates where they are, it's a lot more difficult to transact right now. And so what we're seeing is, we're offering a lot of low balls, to be honest, and trying to get stuff under contract where the numbers will work. With my newer investors, what I'm seeing is most of the time, those people are going to be house hacking, for a lack of a better term. It was coined house hacking. So when you own or occupy that property and rent a portion of it out, we kind of touched on it a couple of weeks ago. So I have a lot of people who are looking to do FHA financing right now. FHA is going to be a specific type of financing for either people who have lower credit or are really wanting to take advantage of a lower down payment, or really the lower credit. So if you have credit that's like a little bit marginal, maybe, that's a type of financing you can use to not get dinged, I guess, on the credit. If your credit's a little bit lower and you still want to get a good interest rate, that type of financing is a really good use for those types of loans. So I actually have people who are not in a space where they have bad credit, but are just really wanting to take advantage of the lower interest rate and the lower down payment right now. So there's a lot of different qualifications that go along with an FHA financing. But really what you need to know to begin with would be, you can have a little bit lower credit score. You can take advantage of, usually it's 3.5% down. And then you can have still a good or better interest rate than a regular financing would be. There are, like I said, stipulations that go along with that. And they're changing quite a few things. I talked to my lender yesterday about some of the terms that are changing. And so if you already own a home, it might not be the best type of financing for you right now, just because some of the requirements that have changed. And it's just because the landscape for lending is just changing pretty regularly right now. The Fed just obviously, they announced that they're going to, raise interest rates again. So I don't know what will happen with that, but that is a type of financing. If people are really, I know Amanda had a lot of questions on, hey, maybe, like if real estate isn't the type of investing I want to do right now, but for those people that are looking, it might be something that would be worth exploring. And it's something that I've gotten a lot more questions on the past couple of weeks. And I think it's just because the landscape is changing and people are really trying to take advantage of those lower rates still. So yeah, there's a lot still that goes into just touching the surface, but there's a lot that goes into it, but still that it would be a good option for some people in specific situations. So
I love that. And I think that's the thing, is just opening our minds to possibilities, and would that be a fit, and trying that on essentially and seeing what does that sit right? Is that something that would be good for us to pursue? And I love that a lot of what we're talking about right now, we know that we talked about that the interest rates will probably get better in a few months. And that a really important thing to be doing right now is to get those financial ducks in a row, and talking about how you can clear out debt, how you can review your budget. And that's something we can touch on in another episode. But for right now, is there any other tip that anybody wants to share? Because that is something that I hear from women is, okay, but what if I'm not in a place to invest, but I want to, knowing that if you just can do a couple of different things, that you can start working on that. And I know Dave Ramsey, I know you're certified, and he talks about those 7 steps, I believe he's gotten, you start paying down the debt. And it's that kind of the snowball thing that you want to have this process. Do you have any tips, Amanda, for people who maybe they have debt, they want to get rid of it, and they want to be able to start investing going down this road?
Yeah. So what I started doing is I did those Dave Ramsey 7 steps. And it really is amazing, you guys. So the first thing that he talks about is you need to have $1,000 emergency fund. That's going to help you so much. And it's just going to relieve that stress of, oh, but now the refrigerator went out, right? And you're like, no, I've already planned for that. I've got it. And getting on a budget is so key. A lot of people believe, this is such a belief, and I had it, so I know, right? I've been there, done that, guilty as charged. For the longest time, I thought only broke people live on budgets, right? Broke people have a budget. When the reality is, broke people don't have budgets, and they can't account for their money. So a budget is such an amazing tool to really start looking at, where are you at as far as your finances go? Do you have wiggle room? Like, that budget is going to tell you 3 big things. It's going to tell you, number 1, do I need a side gig? Is there enough money here for me to, like, how tight am I, right? It can give you a potential raise. If you're looking for extra money in your budget, you're going to be able to start looking at things, and you're going to be able to go, wow, I really just spent $500 on eating out. I think I can cut that down. I'm going to give myself a $200 raise, and I'm going to cut that. I'm not going to stop eating out, but I'm going to cut that budget. I'm going to eat out more at home. Now I've got $200. I can take that $200 and I can apply it to debt, right? And you look at what debt you're going to pay down first, and you start just anything that you can get extra to that, you just start paying that down, paying that down, paying that down. And the third thing that it allows you to do is it allows you to become a wise steward, because now you're able to look at everything. You're able to look at, and my advice to you that I learned from Dave Ramsey as well, is you budget every single dollar. Every dollar has a purpose, right? It's on paper, on purpose, for a reason, to be able to find that extra money so that you can now start looking at investing.
Oh, I love that. And I think that goes back to, don't be afraid of what the numbers say, right? We kind of, got to look at the budget, and I don't know if I want to see it, and got to have some chocolate nearby or whatever. But I really do think for so many people, it's not as bad as you think. And like you said, you maybe end up finding that you have more money in different areas than you thought and didn't realize. And I know one lady I was talking to the other day, she's like, oh, I didn't realize that we had this one account that we set up years ago. And it was just kind of one of those, like, it's just going to stay there and kind of tomato plants, right? It's just going to grow, and completely forgot about it. So it's those kinds of things that if you sit down and really are a wise steward over the money and think that way, that, again, sorry, the biblical thing, but that's wise steward. If we are wise stewards over our resources, then we can be trusted with more. So if we know where things are going, we can plug the leaks and we can say, I am getting this ship tight and getting it ready for it to sail to better waters, because we can have so much more, and not just have as in things, but have so much more peace, joy, ability to be able to do the things that we want to do, and the good that we want to do as well. Love, love, love. We have just a couple of minutes. Any last thoughts from you, sweet ladies?
I had a thought about what Amanda was sharing about budgets, because when I hear budget, still to this day, I'm like, oh, God, seriously, get out. Like, I just don't like them, but they're so helpful. Like when I have it, it's so helpful. It's just that mental getting there and doing it. And so what we've done, and actually I just told my husband a couple of weeks ago, I was like, all right, we got to plan our next budget meeting, like not even a meeting. I don't remember what I called it, like retreat or something. So like we go and we spend actual time outside of the house. And that's what we're doing. We're focusing on the budget, because if not, then we always find other things to do. So.
And know that your budget changes every single month. Your budget should change, because every single month has different needs.
Smart.
That's a great idea. And I think that's one of the banes of a budget, is that people are like, oh, I did this budget, and you're trying to, it's like squeezing into your favorite jeans. You're like, no, it's just not working this month, right? And it's oozing over, and you're like, what happened? And so people get depressed because they're like, I can't make the budget work every month. It just is not working. But I love that it's an expandable. You get those waistbands. It's like when you wear maternity pants, it's like, woo! But you can expand that. And I love the freedom to give yourself that freedom to say, it's coming into the holidays. We know these categories are going to expand, and these ones we're going to need to maybe cut back a little bit on, or whatever, and adjust the budget as you need to. So I love that idea. Beautiful thoughts. Any last thoughts, sweet Amy?
I don't have any more. I think that's wonderful. Different. I feel like mine didn't really fit today. I feel like you guys have a lot of good mindset, and I was just like,
we want that potpourri. There's people out there who are like, I got the mindset. Give me some deep, right? Give me some details. I got to have something. So absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And it is top of mind right now with financing, because it is such a tricky situation. So absolutely love that. Ladies, thank you so much for being here again. And we will join you next week. It will be myself and Amy, and we'll be talking next week and give you some more scoops and wonderful things. And we are going to be talking more in detail, because Amy is that detail lady. So if you have questions about managing properties or investing in properties, or what do you do as far as setting up the ways to best do that? Do you have somebody else do it, or do you take care of it? Those are great questions for Amy, and many, many more. She is so well-bred and so well-read on all the things, well-bred as well. She's so mannerly, but well-read on all of these things. So excited to chat about it. Thank you, ladies, for being here. And thanks to you for joining us on Money Mindset Mentors for Him. We are so grateful to have you. Join us next week, every week at 11 o'clock.